Jason, do you think we could, like, do the thing?
Come on, James, you know I don't like doing a thing.
Come on, dude, please, like, just once.
Hey, if you're watching this, you're probably pretty new to color guard, so, I'm Ben, I'm a senior, and I've been doing color guard for 3 years, and 4 seasons, so, a little bit experienced, you might say. Anyways, so, I'm kind of creating this channel just so that anyone interested in color guard, someone thinking about doing it, someone who's actually invested in it right now and wants to improve their technique, they have a resource guide to look back on. So, yeah, for this video we're going to go over some flag basics. Just so you can get yourself started, learn a few things that are really important, and we're going to start with flag anatomy.
Thank you.
I have a little flag right here, and we're just going to go over some essential parts of the flag that you might need to know. So I don't know if you can really see, but so the flag is kind of divided into thirds. So see here, there's little tape marks that we mark with tape, obviously, duh. Anyways,
shut the fuck up!
The flag has 2 little caps on the end. That's what we call the end cap. This is removable. We put weights in it, and this is kind of, yeah, duh. Anyways,
Yes.
These are
Yes!
we call them tapes, but we also call them cheaters. We divide these into thirds so that we have little markers on the pole where we put our hands. And then right here, where the silk meets the tape, we have the tab. The tab is the center point, duh. Anyways, and this is the silk.
That is amazing.
This is,
wow. Oh my God.
like right through the middle of the flag. That's where you put all of the silk. So that way it's weighted properly and you can actually toss it.
Oh my God, it's so real.
So yeah, in a little bit, we're gonna go over some flag basics, primarily drop spins and pull hits, because those are some incredibly important basics that teach you the essentials of color guard.
Yeah, get into it!
Okay, I'm outside now, and by outside I mean directly out of my house. So, we're gonna go over some positions of the flag really quick so that you kind of know when we say certain terms what we mean. So, this is called right shoulder. There's a tree right there. Anyways,
I am so powerful. My mind, oh, it amazes me sometimes.
all kinds of places because I can't figure out where to stand so that you can hear me. But yeah. Anyways, right shoulder is the position that you hold in drop spins. So when someone says right shoulder, you want to put your hand on the tab, your right hand, if you're doing right drop spins, and your left hand if you're doing left drop spins on the tab. You want to make sure that your thumb is facing up like this, and then for your bottom hand, which is primarily your left, but sometimes it can be your right, depends on what your captain or your instructor wants, is going to be thumbs up on the bottom. So then when you hold right shoulder, you're going to put your hands up, and you're going to keep your bottom hand around your belly button area. This is called right shoulder. I said that like 9 times. Anyways, I just dropped my little bandana. Yeah. So this is the starting position for drop spins. And if you're not familiar with drop spins yet, those are kind of like the primary basic. Like, people kind of think about that when they think of color guard because it's flag twirling, whatever. So the movement starts at your belly button like this with fuck. Oh, I can't say that.
Say? Queen.
Bro, it is so hot out right now. Okay, so drop spins are kind of the primary basic of color guard. They're really important because they teach you how to properly rotate the flag, and they kind of initiate the muscles in the way that you would expect in guard. So when you're holding this stance, you want to make sure that your elbows are popped out like this. You want to make sure that you're strong, your head is high, because guard is a performing art. You want to make sure that you look strong, stuff like that. And you also want to make sure that you're not sticking your arms out like this. You you want to make sure that they're centered right in front of you, so that there's like an inch in front, and that's your standard right shoulder. So then we're going to go into drop spins. I'm just going to record them really quick, and then I'll go over the counts. The way your hands move might be a little weird at first because it's not something we really do in our everyday lives, but dividing it into counts kind of makes this a lot easier for us because guard is kind of related to dance a lot, so making it into counts kind of helps us divide it into phrases, and you can visualize it. So we're going to start at right shoulder, and from here you would think that the next count is here, but we're actually going to divide it into eights. So primary count structure in guard might be 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and we're going to add and counts in the middle. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7, 8. So we're gonna, ooh, I just hit my car. Anyways, we're gonna start at right shoulder, and this is an and count so that you can kind of divide it into halves and you can bring it down. So this is called 8 and. So it's 5, 6, 5, 6, 7, squeeze, and. So then on and, or on the squeeze, which we like to say in my guard a lot. There's no right or wrong to say a count, but we say squeeze so that you can think squeeze with your top hand, and then you can rotate it so that it's above your forehead. You want your hand to be just parallel with your forehead, completely flat, because this is the transition count to bringing it down into the next count. So altogether, it looks like this. 5, 6, 5, 6, 7, squeeze, and. So I'm not putting an immense amount of pressure, but it's also, my hand is very strong right now because, should I tie my hair up? Anyways, because you want to make sure that you have enough momentum to keep going throughout all of it, because if you can do a few drop spins, you can definitely do like 300 with the proper amount of strength. So the next count is 1, and from 8 and here at the forehead, you just want to drop all the way down to 1. So 1 is at where we would call our spin spot. Our spin spot is somewhere that we feel really comfortable spinning, somewhere that we can kind of let our hands drop, and that it's in the right comfortable medium, if that makes sense. So I'm very tall, so my spin spot has to be very low so that it reaches the ground. So it's a little below my belly button, but if you're short, it might be a little above, and if you're an average height, it's probably around your belly button. So when you drop to 1, it looks like this. 5, 6, 5, 6, 7, squeeze, and 1. So it's completely parallel to my body, and it's at a comfortable distance between my belly button and the ground. So that way you can bring it all the way back up to 2. And then you have a whole drop spin, and that's the entire thing. Your 2 is exactly where right shoulder would be. It's up with the silk, except you're grabbing the tab with both hands. So you want to make sure you're not grabbing the silk with your thumb too much, because then the silk can roll up and you can't really do a ton of drop spins like that. I had that problem a lot. But you want to keep your hand here so it's comfortable, and then you can bring it down, up, and down, and up. And then you're probably wondering like how to stop, because you can't just like stop, it's so boring. But then we do what is called a drop stop. Drop stops are like, they take a little bit to get used to for some people. Like you either get it or you don't. But essentially, it's a little pop up so that you can go back to right shoulder. So from here, on the down count, instead of coming to here, you want to make sure that you're letting go with your hands, and that you're popping it up because you're dropping the flag and then you're stopping it. Crazy talk. Anyways, so you're bringing it up and then you're stopping. So just as it reaches down, you use the momentum of the flag to bring it up and let go, and then you're catching with your top or your bottom hand at the top now, right in between the silk. You want to aim for your nose, if not a little higher. It's always good to aim higher, because generally people tend to aim a little low in guard, like when they're new. And then you want to have your right hand right at the tab. Yeah, so that's drop spins. Yes! Really a good exercise to practice is continually doing drop spins. See how many you can do in a row, and then go into a drop stop. So I can do around 400, but I've been doing guard for a really long time. Like, don't expect yourself to get like 1,000 in a year. That's pretty much impossible unless you're really devoted. And I mean, be devoted, like, cool. Party. Ooh, car. Yeah. Oh. But generally a good number to aim for as you're starting out is about 10. At warm-up a lot, we like to go up to around 50 at most. Like, sometimes towards the end of the season we get a little spicy and we're like 80, but don't worry too much if you're struggling with technique early, because that stuff comes as you practice. So I'm just going to do a few drop spins right now, and you can get a little perspective on where I am with my technique, and you can kind of observe what I'm doing so that you can reflect it in your own work. 6, 7, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 21, 30, drop, stop. Yes. Okay, so if you're struggling with time structure, this is a good part of the video to look at. I'll plug a timestamp in the description, but yeah, so, how do I explain this? Time structure is really important, especially in music, but it's also important in dance and guard, because you're dividing everything you do into counts so that you can keep it moving and you can be organized, and everyone can do things either together or intentionally separate. So primarily things are going to be divided into 4-4 structure, and if this is confusing to you, it just means there's 4 counts in one measure. So you're dividing things into sets of 4. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you go again. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. In guard, it gets a little trickier because we don't really count with measures like musicians do. We count in phrases. So we divide things into sets of numbers, and then we count with them. So if we're doing drop spin exercises, we might say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 2. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Because we're dividing that into phrases of 8. Generally, when you're doing count structure, you can kind of identify what time signature you're in just by how many counts there are. Like, if it's divisible by 3, it might be 3/4, which means that there's 3 counts in one measure. It could be 5/4, which is 5, obviously. And sometimes it can get really, really weird, and it can be like 7/4, but I wouldn't really worry too much about that if you're beginning with time structure. So generally, we like to give a count off when we're starting choreography. So we go 5, 6, 5, 6, 7, 8, And that's because we're counting the measures before it, but we're giving you kind of an idea of when we might start. So saying 5 and 6, and 5, 6, 7, 8 is saying that that phrase is about to end. The numbers 5, 6, 7, 8 just imply that the phrase of 8 is over, but you don't really need to know anything about that. You just have to remember when you hear 5, 6, 5, 6, 7, 8, you come in on the next count. So if I were doing drop spins, it would go 5, 6, 5, 6, 7, squeeze, and 1, 2. So generally, that's all you need to know about time structure when you're beginning. You just need to know that things are divided into phrases and that you just need to keep the tempo or the beat. So if I give you, you can count to that. And when your instructor gives you, you know that's when you're about to start because they're counting you off. And then you just go with the tempo that they provided you, and that's pretty much it. A lot of people who don't have music experience can overcomplicate time structure, and it becomes really confusing and scary, but don't be afraid of time. If you're afraid of time, you'll never get anything done. I would know, I procrastinate all the time.
Vegas, let me hear y'all make some noise!
Making weird faces is comedy. In the next video, I'm ending this. Bye. Next video, I'm probably gonna go over other basics like pull hits, toasters, maybe even some tosses. I don't know. Whatever I can get done before the season starts. Whip. Bye. But really, like, why do I look so gross in this resolution? I think it's the chin. I don't think I have a very defined jawline.
I'm Taylor. Keep love. Bye. I'm Awesome Woman 800. Go follow me. And I'm Jessica the Coolest. Peace, y'all.